the same information different ways. This, by the way, is the same technique Madison Avenue does when it sells deodorant soap. It looks like this. Grocery bag messages, school coloring books, TV spots, bumper stickers, fast food placemats, all of it. The more diverse, the more effective, the more people you reach. Next, communicate over the long haul. It's better to communicate over time and not just for a day or a week. Who on earth came up with the idea of your favorite hazard preparedness day that happens once a year? That's like running through a kitchen with a cube of butter and throwing it in a hot skillet on the stove. You'll watch it snap, crackle, and disappear. Will you get an effect? Yes. Will it be measurable in the population? No. Well, we keep doing that. People do more after receiving the same message many times, and it's best if communication is sustained over extended periods of time, and even better if it's ongoing and doesn't end. Step 7, focus provided information on actions. The single most important thing to tell the public if you want them to prepare is what they should do to prepare, and where they can find out more about how to do it. Now, how many of you have ever raised a little boy? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you have ever raised a little girl? How many of you are going to raise a little boy or girl? How many of you ever were a little boy or girl? So how do you teach kids how to put on their shoes? It's something like this. No, no, no. That shoe goes on the other foot. Here, let Daddy show you. And this is how you tie the bow. Now, you try it. Did you explain to the kid about the probability of getting frostbite if they walked on snow and ice? Did you wonder whether you should say 1 in 10 or 10% when you were explaining the likelihood of toe amputation from frostbite? You focused on the behavior. If you want to influence human beings' behavior, you need to focus on the behavior you want them to do, not provide them with science lessons hoping they'll infer a logical behavior and then do it. Leave that for university professors. For example, in California, we have this What to Do icon brochure. You can open it up and find out everything you need to do to be ready for earthquakes, and it tells you how to do it. Step 8, explain consequence reduction. You need to explain how those behaviors reduce consequences. Let me give you an example. If I were designing a TV spot to market flood insurance in this country, it would show a 3rd grader with pigtails and freckles, and she'd be taking a test. And some delightful voice in the background would say something like this. Did you know that parents who had flood insurance get their kids back in school after floods 4.5 months sooner than parents who don't have it? Then I'd have the kid look in the camera, not with a pleased look on her face. And then I tell them where to go to get flood insurance. I wouldn't show them floods. I'd explain how the behavior reduces consequences, the kind that are important to them. People are more likely to take actions if information explains how those actions can cut their losses if something happens. And then step 9, and this is the big ticket item, the thing that motivates public behavior the most, is get public preparedness out of the closet and into the streets. People are most likely to take actions to prepare if they see what other people have done, and other people tell them about it, not you. It's kind of what we've known for 90 years, written by a famous social psychologist 90 years ago. Monkey see, monkey do. So when people come to my house, I ask them to shake a statue I have in the living room, and it doesn't move. Then I ask them to shake the box it's on. It doesn't move. Then I ask them to shake the table the box is on. It doesn't move. And I say, I have it all glued down for earthquakes. Then when they're going home after dinner, this kind of stuff goes on in the car. Harry, you think we should glue things down? So if I were marketing things for flood preparedness, I would target the people who have already done it and tell them to open their mouths at the next cocktail party and tell people they know. Target talking. Encourage people to talk about preparing with each other and use innovative ways to foster that. We do that in California. They started a campaign called Let's Talk About Our Faults. A seismologist came up with this based on talking to me. And I said, no, it's not about the faults, it's about the preparedness actions. But you know, if you can only get to 50% of your target with a physical scientist, that's a lot. So I was happy with that. And then last, evaluate despite the burden of dealing with OMB. Measure your starting place, get a baseline, measure changes in the behavior you're trying to effectuate, evaluate your program's effectiveness, and fine-tune it based on how it's going, and surveys can do that. Here are the steps summarized. Use many sources and channels and partnerships. You can't do it alone. Use the same message and brand the message, and work with others to adopt the same message you have adopted as a group. Start communicating to the public ongoingly, unrelentingly, and without end over the long haul with repetitive messaging. Talk about the actions they're supposed to take and how to cut those actions and how they cut losses, and encourage talking and put visible action-taking cues out in the street. Evaluate and revise. That's based on the scientific evidence. You may be doing something based on something else. Good luck with that tunnel. Oh, here's a summary of that summary. You have to sell it like they sell Coca-Cola. You get it? And the most effective salespersons are the people who have already bought the product, not you. Postscript 1. Everything you say to the public doesn't have to say everything. Stop trying to cram everything into people's heads at once. You can tell them about other places to go. In fact, if you can motivate them to look for more information, that really helps them take a behavior. Another postscript. Maybe not. Oh, there it is. Remove wrong information. It's not just about cramming things into people's heads. It's also about removing information, bad information from people. Postscript 3. Issues remain for low-resource people. They have the same process to be motivated, but they may have barriers or constraints to taking action because they lack the funds to do it. And postscript 4, demographics don't really impact motivating people. However, demographics may be very important for other reasons. For example, selecting the best communication mechanism and channel to reach people of different socio-demographic backgrounds and more. And postscript 5, everything I've shared with you this morning is not everything there is to share. We talked about the process of motivating public readiness. We didn't cover what the information should say, how it should be worded, and we didn't talk about the style, that is how it's presented, the format, the order, the colors, the wording, etc. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your keen attention. It's been my pleasure to come to Oklahoma and share these results with you. And I have no idea if there are time for questions or not, and I'll just do what this gentleman to my right tells me to do. Thank you.